so I wanted to watch them and see what we thought
Talk about them.
Yeah, see what we thought. So go ahead and run the first. I think the first clip is Steven Crowder.
It's a question for everyone. As someone who's a new practicing Christian, and so many churches out there falsely teaching, how do you find a Bible preaching and Christ teaching church?
It's true, by the way, and I kind of was writing this down. And by the way, some people will be offended by me saying this is just my opinion as far as theology, and this is something that certainly would be probably unilaterally agreed upon in the Protestant church. Look, you need to have some I guess I should say boundaries, right? You need to have, like, there are state borders and there are national borders. Pastor Mark Driscoll, I believe, explained that when we did National Wednesday with him, where, like babies being baptized versus adults, where some denominations see it as more of a dedication than baptism. Right, that's the state board. People can have differing opinions, right? People can have differing opinions. Some people, I'm not talking about Seventh-day Adventists, but some people believe the Sabbath is actually Saturday as opposed to Sunday. Okay, there are some differing opinions. There are different views. Some people are a little more legalistic on the Sabbath, which I would say is veering towards, kind of national borders. Right. But I actually wrote down what I think are, for me, if I saw this, I would leave. If you're looking for a Bible preaching church. So any church that would deny the existence of hell, no, it's okay, you're beyond national borders, right? That removes and it's addressed ad hominem in the New Testament, and anyone who says that it's not would have to be adding to the books after the New Testament, right? And there would have to be some kind of rule of it being superseded by new books. And that happens a lot, right? You even see that not just with hell, but like with Islam. They do believe in hell to whatever degree that they do, but they believe that Jesus was not who he claimed to be, and that's because they add books to it that say it wasn't. And so the Quran is more important than the New Testament and the Old Testament, even though they claim that they follow it. Another one will be any church that denies the divinity of Christ or the Holy Trinity. I think, okay, you right away some alarm bells should go up. And I would also say that any church that says that salvation is earned rather than good works being fruits of a changed heart through salvation. In other words, works come afterward. You can't work your way into God's grace or heaven. There's no way that you can. So those are kind of some I have found that if you set those, there are a lot of denominations, by the way, and a lot of non-denominational churches that still fit into that box. Usually when you get out, you're getting into something that is no longer what would be mainstream Christianity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the best way to do this, the Bible actually gives you a prescription on this. And churches or Christians in general do themselves such a great disservice because you don't want to focus on looking for what is wrong. You want to know what is right so well that what is wrong will be obvious, right? And so that's Acts 17:11 when it's talking about Paul, I'm sorry, not Paul, but when they're talking about going to the Bereans, I believe, and saying like they were willing to openly receive me with all readiness, like, and that's a miracle in and of itself. They're willing to listen. But here's the part. They searched the scriptures daily to see if what I said was true. Yeah. Right? They received what I said, but then they searched the scriptures to say, hey, is this really true? That's what you're supposed to do as a Christian. Right. You're supposed to do that. So that the real simple answer.
But that takes a little bit longer time. So I think setting these are non-negotiable
sure.
wrongs.
There's some non-negotiables for sure. Yeah, exactly. But just understand, like, your job is to study the real so that you will understand when you see the fake.
Okay, so everyone needs to become professional exegetes. That's what I heard. I'm all for that, right? Be a good Berean, but I guess essentially, I guess he's buddies with Mark Driscoll, so that might be weird.
He said something about the church, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think he said something about having Mark Driscoll on, and they talked about the state borders versus national borders, which I guess is like denominations. You can all, I guess, if you look at it like a big tent, like the nation of Christianity, and there's different denominations, but some things are outside the nation or outside the tent or beyond the camp or however you want to say it.
That's how he's looking at it.
Yeah, and he mentioned things like denying the existence of hell, for example.
Yes. Now, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But first, Dustin Paulson says, political pundits are not theologians and really are just mouthpieces for a political party that uses Christianity, not one that represents it. Pritchett?
Well, depends. I don't want to say that every politician that or pundit, commentator, whatever, that says they're a Christian is not, and they're just using it for something. Because clearly, for most of the shtick that these guys go on about, is not trying to use Christianity for something else, right? But what they are doing is everyone who professes Christ has to represent Christ, right? Mm-hmm. And you could say that there are things that they do on their programs that probably do not reflect Christ very well,
Well, okay, so let's get into this thing.
So I think
this
there's
is actually a great example. I haven't seen these,
Yeah.
And you have them on like double speed or 1.5 or something,
1.5.
the clips you gave me. Yeah. Some people hate that. If you're on double speed, that's like, what is that?
Well, I didn't want them to take forever because it's more important that you listen to us than listen to
But hell, okay, so that, like, this is a great example. Like sometimes these conservatives, because conservatives, whatever you think about whatever else they say, of this sort, these types of conservatives do point to the Bible as their foundation for all these things, point to God and their faith and all these things. And generally, like usually they're just kind of giving you the general Christian picture, stuff that, Christians have heard, because they're usually using these things to say, hey, Christians, you've heard this, right? So now go do this, right? Okay, but and whether you agree with the ideology or the whatever they're pushing to do, you should be able to agree with the general statements that they make. But when they get into specifics, sometimes, like here with Stephen Crowder, you've got this discussion about hell. Well, he says it's not a biblical or it's not a Bible preaching church or whatever if they say there's no hell. Well, I think that discussion requires some more nuance, because I have many conditional immortality friends who believe in annihilationism, who are, like Chris Date's a young earth creationist. He's definitely wanting to go with what does the Bible say. Now, it's true that Christians disagree about what the Bible says about the nature of hell. That's absolutely true. But it is also true that the majority of the history of the church has been that it's an eternal conscious place of torment. But there are Bible-believing Christians who affirm conditional immortality, and for those people, some of them, might believe that hell is an actual place. It's just the place where you're annihilated or something.
Yeah.
And they all believe that Jesus points to
Well,
Gehenna.
certainly some of the more fervent, less ecumenical type of eternal conscious torment advocates will say that being an annihilationist or a conditional immortality person is denying hell.
Yeah, I can understand why people would say that.
If you deny eternal conscious torment, you deny hell itself.
You're denying hell. What we're talking about is a place of some sort. I don't know exactly what Stephen Crowder believes, but a place of some sort, and classically a place of flames and darkness and, seemingly impossibly, but place of flames and darkness and whatever else. Brimstone, actual brimstone. Well, I don't know if that's what he's thinking of. Or you could go with the J.P. Moreland, like the response that says, well, no, it is eternal conscious torment, but it's not like the flames and stuff. That could be imagery and stuff.
Conscious
but so it's not like that. Come on, that's a cartoon. But then some of these same people will then say, but that's actually way worse than what you were thinking of with flames, not in a way that you can't quite connect with.
All the air conditioning of hell that I showed that Al Mohler whines about, that his own professors spew about this. Oh, it's not literal fire. Yeah. There's all kinds of versions of eternal conscious torment. We have the eternal goleming, where you
become more and more,
you become less
unhuman, sort of.
Yeah. And so there's all kinds of views of that, but a lot of people would say, so I don't know how denying hell, like denying, maybe you could go as far as saying universalists, but not even all universalists deny hell. So I think there was a commenter earlier that says you shouldn't go to these people for theology, but if they're going to make a theological claim like denying hell, you say, okay, well, what does that mean? Because there are even universalists, and I think universalism is like the least likely of all the views. Like I give it like a 0.0.
What 1%?
Yeah, that it's ever that's true. But I'm just saying, even universalists, some variety, would affirm hell for at least a period of time.
But the other two things that he said, I agree with.
The justification by faith.
I thought he said the divinity of Christ and
that, and then
the Trinity.
And then he said, "Don't earn the salvation."
Oh yeah, don't earn. Yeah, okay.
Now that would need these nuance, because I don't think that.
Not for me.
Like Mormons,
I don't need to nuance that. I'm with him.
Well, Mormons would definitely fall into that category, but whereas Catholics don't like when Protestants say that that's what they believe when that's not what they believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to nuance it.
Well, I don't either. I'm not a Catholic, but I'm just saying,
I don't need to nuance it for Catholics.
I don't. Yeah. Well, I mean.
All right, here we go. Jim Amberg. I don't mean that like, if we're asking what do we think about this, he said that, I go yes, right? But if you want to say something to
I think overall asterisk by the hell thing. I mean, because I was like, what do you mean? Because I know what certain people mean by it, and people mean different things. The polemics involved in the hell debate.
Yeah, when you say hell, what do you mean? You got to, because that's a term, like, right, that is given to several biblical.
Well, if you say Chris Date denies hell because he's a conditional immortality, I'm going to say that that's not denying hell.
It's certainly not denying judgment. Is that what we mean?
Well, it's not denying hell either.
Right. It's not denying a place of separation from God where people might be annihilated or not.
Yeah.
Right.
So denying hell. Do you mean denying eternal conscious torment, or do you mean denying hell altogether, of any way of hell? Because, like, I typically say stay away from universalist churches, and I'm sorry if this shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. But most, in my experience, of those churches also take on a whole bunch of other bad theology as well.
I don't know enough.
But
about
then you can say the same thing about a lot of egalitarians too. They
Well-
see an egalitarian church, a lot of them might also take on a whole bunch. And I'll admit that as well. There's a lot of like when we had the Rick
It's just
Warren
don't
thing,
do
I
it-
ranted about egalitarians, and I am one. So
Just
I'm happy
don't.
yeah.
The idea is guilt by association thing. Don't.
I do agree with the be a good Berean, regardless of
course.
what church you go to. So I mean, overall, I give this a B minus.
Yeah, I'm inclined to give it more. But Jim Amberg, and I don't
Well,
even
you're a
watch
professor too. What would you?
I don't
grade it?
watch Steven Crowder. I'm not going to grade him. He's not playing for seminary here. If he's playing for seminary, he's got to do a little better.
Look, more people watch that than go to seminary.
That's
so.
true. And I should, yeah, that's true.
So they need your, what would you grade it? They need your seminary expertise to give it a grade.
You said a B minus?
I said a B minus.
I give it a B and tell him to think deeply about more. Give him some books to read about hell.
Yes, but the last guy said something about he's going to do apologetics on their little mug club. So they have their own pay service like David
I've never
Wire
seen that
has.
guy before. I don't know.
Yeah, and he said he's doing an apologetics show for their subscribers
Well, praise the Lord.
to their thing. And so my
So
thing
what?
is, if you're going to present yourself as being more theologically informed than the average fella, because you're going to get into, if they're going to get into it as much as he just did, then he should be able to go further, but didn't. So B minus.
Okay. Jim Amberg says, casual observation, the difference between this and the Trinity Seminary channel, by the way, we'd love for you to go and subscribe to the Trinity Seminary channel, trinitysem.edu. Search that in the YouTube search bar and you'll find it. The difference between this and the Trinity Seminary channel is that you guys follow fewer rabbit trails there and also wear suit jackets.
Yes to the first part, but you just showed that you have not been a long time viewer, Channel Angel, because if you go back and watch our back catalog, we used to wear sports coats.
It doesn't make what he said untrue.
No, but we did used to wear sports coats in every video, and I was not for changing that. But the truth is, I wore a sports coat because I used to be fat and it covered my gut.
Caleb Sowers says 50 people in chat, but only 11 likes. Come on, guys. I agree. Every time that guy,
Yeah.
I usually agree with him.